Love and light, brothers and sisters. So I've made a lot of videos recently, kind of semi-political videos, and talking about, stepping into our power and not engaging with rigged political systems and political charades meant to give the illusion of choice and power, but never actually come close to that. But I haven't been able to articulate exactly. I've been able to articulate kind of what we shouldn't do, but I haven't been able to articulate clearly what we should do, because from a spiritual level, I've been looking at it like our consciousness itself will change the situation. The change in our consciousness collectively will change the situation, and that's certainly true. But I can see now more clearly what I've been trying to articulate from the ground up about what we can do individually and collectively to reclaim our power. And it's related to what the last video, that little short video I put up about community policing in every neighborhood really, but certainly in the minority neighborhoods. And that's basically the gist of what I believe we can do, because if we organize, for instance, I'm in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, and in this township, there's 85,000 people, okay? I don't know the statistics, but for sure, it's a very diverse community. There's lots of different cultures, but for sure, it's probably majority African-American. And that is not reflected in their police departments or city councils or any of the state organizations, really. And I think that needs to be addressed first and foremost. So in the past, I was just watching something about Earth Day when that first rally happened, maybe in the 70s or something. 20 million people attended. With that amount of people, that amount of power, we can create any change we want. That's what they don't want us to know. So 85,000 people in this city or township being policed by, I'm not sure, maybe 200 to 500 police officers, okay? What is stopping the people of this community, 85,000 people, from coming together and forming their own police department? From forming their own clinics, from helping each other. For instance, we were taught as a people, when I grew up, the way we all were taught, the way we all, not just like taught in school, but taught through life and experience and watching the social system that we came into, was that each family unit is individual. We're all divided against each other, and there's a Republican in this house and a Democrat in this house, and that's why we haven't had any power. And just look, everyone, all these women in the country and many of the men involved with the issue sit around and wait for a couple Supreme Court justices to decide what's going to happen with women's own bodies, with abortion. Instead of each community deciding we're just going to perform the abortions and not ask and not tell and protect our own communities. You see, we don't have to ask for anything. We can self-organize. We can self-create. And we can self-protect. We can self-defend. We have the power. We have the power. I don't want to yell, excuse me. But, I mean, I don't know about the legality, the constitutional legalities and technicalities, but I know, for instance, if everyone in this community came together and built their own school, and it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be. If it was run with love and by people who actually care about the community and students, it would be a success. It would be a success. And they could teach their curriculum, the curriculum that that community feels is appropriate. Educate their children the way that community feels is appropriate. And at some point, I feel like the government would have, because if people stopped sending their children to the public schools completely and only elected to send their children to the community schools, I believe at some point the funding would have to stop going to those public schools, because that funding is supposed to be for the children. So if the children of all that community and the parents of all that community want the money to go to that local community school, I don't see how legally they can stop it. Again, I don't know all the constitutional laws and everything, but I do know that where there's a will, there's a way. And if the communities came together and formed their own police forces, their own neighborhood watches, their own citizen watches to watch the authorities, if they came together in defense of each other every time, if they came together and formed their own co-ops, their own farms, their own micro grows, whatever. There's so much ingenuity between us if we form independent councils, if each community comes together and forms councils. In my opinion, those councils should represent the diversity of the community. So if we have a 75% Indian community and a 25% African American community, that is what the council should reflect, in my opinion. But each community should decide this thing. We don't need to ask. We don't need to vote in their rigged elections. We don't need any of this. We need to come together. We need to come together as brothers and sisters. We need police in the community that see everyone they're policing as brothers and sisters, as family. We don't need them objectively. We don't need objective police officers viewing us like objects and only deciding what's right or wrong based on a rigid group of laws that are all systematically racist and biased and discriminatory. No, we need police officers policing from their heart and looking at a community of brothers and sisters and children and husbands and wives and fathers and mothers. We need a community police that's based on love. On love, yeah. Imagine that. Imagine policing based on love. Imagine serving the community based on love. That's a radical concept, right? So that's what I've been trying to articulate. We don't need to ask the government for permission. We don't need to overthrow the government. We don't need to change the government. We need to make them obsolete. We need to stop asking them at all. We need to stop considering them at all. We need to stop honoring or considering their rigged game. If they want to have all the money, so what? Do you think all the farmers are against us? Do you think all the people on the ground that actually make all the products are against us? We do everything. Our hands are on everything. We don't even need their money. We can trade with each other out of love. We can start trading as communities. We can self-organize across the country into communities and start treating each other with love and respect first, and we'll forget they even exist. They may try to remind us, but again, we have the power. The reason that the police react in such over-the-top, military, ridiculous, aggressive, violent, vile ways to the protesting public, even more so when that public is minorities or in support of minorities, for sure, but the public at large, the reason is because they're scared. They want to tamp it down as quickly as possible before actual unity happens, before the people actually look around and realize their power. They want to scare, shock, and awe because they're scared. They're scared. They're scared of the moment we stop being scared. Love and light to all.